Step back away from the collective egotism of great world changers and leaders, and I'm going to focus more on my personal surroundings and the people that I live with and that have more an effect on my life, personally. My relatives and the women I married and the children and stuff, and because I still have it's my dad. I love him very much. He's very difficult to deal with. He has a lot of very archaic things that are traditional in his mind, and he holds on to them, and he won't let go of them. And you can try to get him to understand the fallacy in it and its myth, and you shouldn't believe in it because it's dangerous to believe that way, and you don't want to pass that on to kids. And he'll still, when I talk to him about Jesus and different things, he rolls his eyes at me, and he tells me that he's Jesus and Jesus is God, and Jesus sees everything, and Jesus is fixing everything. And when Jesus is ready, he'll come and fix everything. And my dad doesn't think he's good enough or worthy to live with Jesus. My dad thinks he's going to hell. Uh, and I'm like, wow, that must be horrible. You know, when I think about my poor father, I think, oh my gosh, that must be horrible to live that way. Okay. That he's Jesus and Jesus is God and Jesus has got everything figured out and he's going to clean up everything when he's darn well ready to do it. But my dad is going to hell and not be with Jesus eternally. He's going to be tortured in hell eternally like Dante's Inferno. And I'm like, God, that must be horrible. And I can't, you can be empathetic, okay? But you can't feel sorry for people when you explain to them what they believe in is mythology and has no scientific validity. And they still keep saying, no, I'm God, and I'll clean up I know everything, and I'll clean up everything when I'm darn well ready, and when I die, I'm going to hell. And you're like, wow, that is horrible. But you can be empathetic, okay? But you can't feel sorry for people that keep going back to the bar and drinking themselves into oblivion because he stopped loving her today. Pop it top again, red wine. Okay. You can't feel sorry for somebody that's going to destroy themselves with alcohol because they focused on something they want and they're not getting it, so they're going to destroy their body to try to get peace from killing their body. Okay. And that's how most people are affected by this mythology and this irrationality. And then the Wi-Fi bombardment of genocidal operations to keep people addicted to and involved in bad brain chemical activity. And then I get a lot of issues, when I talk to my sons, my oldest son should know this by now. He was 9 or 10 when he went to go live with his mom when she basically literally just kidnapped him from me and Amy and wouldn't let him come back. And then the state allowed that kidnapping through illegal activities, which paperwork, because, there's a lot of real heinous things happened. And I didn't go back and fight it because I didn't have the money and I had to try to help Amy take care of the kids. And I had to just rely on the fact that my son, since I raised him, would sit there and understand and go, if you want to come back home here, you can help me raise these kids as opposed to having to raise your mother. But apparently he felt more obligated to raise his mother, which was very difficult on him. But that was a decision he made and I raised him. So I wasn't mad at him and I told him that. I was like, but being mad at me and saying, why did you choose Amy and why did you do this to me and your mom? It's like, Patrick, you do know that your mom lied to the courts extensively, constantly got money to go to the lesbian bars while me and you lived in the ghetto. Then when she got abused by her lesbian girlfriends and I offered to help her, she told me no, that she wouldn't come help me raise you because she didn't want it to interrupt her sex life. And then when I got married to Amy, she lied to the courts and me and Amy had to leave the state in order to get any kind of medical care because your mom kept lying to the state about what was happening with us economically while we had you. So, she did lots of horrible things and she played the system to her advantage every time she could to screw me over. And she still hasn't admitted she's wrong and she still hasn't apologized. And the reason why she didn't come after me, it's because she went to lawyers just like she did before when she tried to come after me, when we were living together, and the lawyers told her, you can't do this, and you're fortunate you got a really good husband. He hasn't come after you and sued you in the state. Something's wrong with this guy. He should sue the state of Arizona and make millions and get his kid back. What's wrong with this man? I want to live the Lord's Prayer. I don't have any confidence in nothing but contempt for the federal courts and state and local courts and justice systems, because money's not real, and I'm under no obligation to believe in anything they say being truthful or worthy of love and good life, because it's not. Okay, so that's my oldest son. And then I talked to my other son on, Messenger, and told him, we went to Sierra Vista. They told me my life was in the Bible. I always kind of understood it, and then it validated it immensely. Your mom was abused by covert covert military ops. Okay, she's been through hell. She's been manipulated. Patrick's mom was through hell. She had a rough life, and when she married me and went out to Fort Bragg and Pope Air Force Base, they just made it worse. They made it almost impossible for her to function. It's interesting because, she's scared of black people. She can't stand black people. They're mean to her because she's high yellow and all that stuff. But yet, you're like, why are you scared of them? I'm sure black folks are more scared of you, because if you go off, you can kill them a lot easier than they can kill you. It's Patrick's mother. Oh, yeah, to a T. But she's an emotional hypochondriac, and she's a complete wreck. And she hides in Joni Mitchell and shamanism and her wolf guide spirits and all this crazy stuff to survive hell. She reminds me a lot of ways of my grandma and my father. And it's hard to live in a relationship like that, because you can sit there and say, that ain't them dogs' real voices. And if we believe in that, I'm not investing money in California psychics to make sure that we live a better life, because it didn't work for Dow and Warwick with having marijuana in luggage, and it ain't going to work for us, right? You're sarcastic. I can't help myself. I got to be me, right? So I tell Noah that. And Noah sits there and turns around, and I go, so be patient with her. Don't get angry with her. Just help her through this hell. And he sits there and tells me, you did all these bad things. I said, I didn't do any bad things. Okay. Your mom would take everybody knows it. I have Skype things where she was masturbating with other guys online with Reich's mom. Reich's wife, and your buddies, your friends, where they would get online. They used to, when I would go to work, she would have parties over and have the kids be babysitted by people I didn't know. She did horrible things. Okay. She would take all her money and go to the bar and screw around while me and the kids were struggling to survive. Okay. Yorgev tried to talk her into finding ways to miscarriage Crumb, because she lied to Crumb and she lied to Yorgev and said that I raped her and got her pregnant to keep her into the marriage. Okay. Natalie heard her saying this stuff to Yorgev online. She told Yorgev that Emily and Kate were children I had with another drug addict woman, and and all these horrible things. Okay. And that she was stuck in this marriage with this horrible, terrible person. And Natalie had to sit and listen to that. Okay. And then you guys wonder why Natalie wanted to emotionally protect the guy that wasn't her biological father, that was being emotionally and sexually tortured and abused by her mother. It makes you wonder why Natalie was so protecting of me and had such an affectionate adoration of me when she hit puberty and wanted to protect me, because she's been manipulated by the Temple Set Illuminati and the manipulation from the Temple Set Illuminati on her own mom. So when you sit and assess the situation, you understand exactly why people behave the way they did. And I raised Natalie. And then when Amy and Sheridan told her, he's not your dad, why are you sticking up for him? Like Arlene, she says, Natalie saw me as the more correct protector, the more correct provider, the person that loved her. She didn't feel as if her mom loved her. She didn't feel as if her dad loved her. Kelly tried to beat me in the womb because I was taken away from his party money, and then left me for me to raise her. Yeah. And Mom would rather go to the bar and have sex with idiots than stay at home and love her children. So the guy who, lost his son to the courts because of the shenanigans of both ex-wives, and then raised kids that were conceived through his second wife cheating at the bar. did everything he could to provide and take care of these kids. Natalie knew that. I'm not his daughter. He lost Patrick, his biological son, to the courts and abusive shenanigans to make him go crazy. And Natalie doesn't know this. Patrick doesn't know this because I've explained it to them 3,000 times, it seems like, especially online on a daily basis on YouTube. And I'm still getting the same results. And I'm sick of my nieces and nephews coming over me and looking like I'm like a psychotic hose beast from hell, that I just want to be fucked in the ass by the president and tell him how great he is and then smoke cigars in the Oval Office with them. I'm like, no, that's you guys, not me. I don't want to talk about that asshole. I want to talk about living the Lord's Prayer. I want everybody else to stand up for me with it without fear. But most of these kids, religion is an economy, programmed them at night by their Wi-Fi provider. They wake up at night and they wake up in the morning, they go right back to consumption, and then they get mad because I tell them, do you see what you're doing? Please stop. And I hate it. I hate family reunions. I hate family dinners. I wanted to have family barbecues, but I hate those too. So I got the rec hall, but it's really good for is to connect to people in prayer while I shoot baskets out there and exercise to stay alive while I survive the hell of the Industrial Revolution on crack and on steroids, and then, and how it affects my family and how much, my family tells me, my nephew and my sister's son telling me, I had this long talk with you. I love you. You quoted me a war manual. I'm correcting the war manual with the living word. And then you tell me you only talked to me this long is because you love me. And then when I left, I said, the Lord's Prayer is being established, and it most likely is going to be assimilated by AI, and you guys aren't going to be able to say that you helped do it. And so when we're living in the kingdom of heaven, you'll be able to live it, but you won't be able to say you participated. He said, no, I'll be able to live it, but you won't be able to, Uncle Earl. You won't be there. And I was like, you just said you love me. And that's why you talked to me about worshiping Jesus. And I was like, no, I talked to you about worshiping like Jesus. You talked to me about worshiping you and your father's ego, and there's no damn way in hell or heaven that I'm going to do that. Okay, well, in hell. In heaven, nobody worships your dad's ego in heaven. Nobody worships my dad's ego in heaven. In heaven, we're all living the Lord's Prayer, and nobody says, bow down to my ego and vote for me for president or prime minister. Okay? All you Tony Blairs and Margaret Thatchers naked on a cold day out there. Love you guys. British tabloids. That's all you guys are, is British tabloids. Okay, and you suck. And you know that. Okay. So get the fuck out of Buckingham Palace, and we don't need a bowling alley there. We just need to tear down old genocidal buildings and rebuild a village that has people living loving lives, being good neighbors.